Fulham 4, Tottenham Hotspur 0. A laughable, pathetic, spineless, gutless, toothless performance. Ange-r Management is back. Let's do this. So, first of all, before we break this down, just want to wish every single Irish person and their family and their friends on the planet a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Wish that I could join you and have a monumental session today, because being an alcoholic and a Spurs fan is damn hard work. And also, happy 9th birthday to my beautiful nephew Joseph. But that's all the niceness out of the way.
To be sure.
Johnny, you are in a place that looks far brighter than what we saw at Craven Cottage yesterday, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm in La Caleta in Tenerife. It's hot. Unfortunately, Spurs weren't hot. We were cold.
Cold.
Yeah,
cold.
Be prepared, guys. I'm just going to say it. We're going in. And listen, look, just because you're going to sit there and criticize everything, it does not mean we are Ange out. Okay. What's the point? No point having these shows if you're going to sit here and just say, well, it is what it is. No, it's not what it is. Okay. He pays your money. Those poor fans yesterday who got on that boat and travelled down to Fulham full of optimism, probably hoped the boat had sunk on the way back. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.
So just like someone actually put in the comments after the last Ange-r Management that we should put something on the background here saying this is judged on a game by game basis. And we were thinking about doing it, and we thought, no, do you know what? Why am I putting stuff on the background? People have watched this show for long enough, and it's become part of the show that people have to understand. This show, for the whole season, there hasn't been one missed by Tottenham on tour. Every single game, we have the formula where we talk about the negatives, if there were any. And believe me, there's a lot of them today. The positives, when there are any, I'll leave that there. Special mentions, and just like we did the whole team positively last week, it is only fair that we do the whole team after that flimsy performance, or excuse of a performance. And then we wrap up with Ange Postecoglou, who I am sorry to tell you is coming in for some criticism today, which does not mean you are Ange Postecoglou out, doesn't mean you don't back him, doesn't mean you don't trust him. It means we can criticise him, just like people criticise Conte, Mourinho, Poch, AVB, Jerry Francis, Martin Jol, every single manager. Today, Ange Postecoglou is going to get some heat, and rightfully so. Doesn't mean I don't love him, or Johnny don't love him, or we don't want him, but credit where credit is due and criticism where it's due, and it's coming. So before we get into this, let's just get into the comments and say hello to everyone. And Cessis Gammy Hammy, I saw it as soon as I came in here, has literally said everything we need to say, and fair play to you, brother. Colin Cross, my man, I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Let me know if your headphones came, buddy. Mr. Sweden, Tony Rodriguez is in the building. Who else have we got today? We have Andrew Gregory. I hope you are good, sir. Ray the Yid, my man, my brother. I hope you're good. Shem, good morning to you. Or bad morning to you. Tweak, morning. Svarog, morning. Tom, 81, my man. I hope you're all good. Ryan McFarlane, big up to you, my man. Fran, hello, darling. Rich, hello. Audio, big up, brother. Lee, Harvey. Unfortunately, the lawnmower is coming in for some criticism today as well. Damn right. Damn right, mate. No, Vagan, thank you very spot on. We'll fill you in. We've got Magic here, Rayman, big up, DJ, big up, Nick Collerton, Nick Barry, Shortfield, Grant, how are we, sir? And we have Magic. So, Johnny, let's get into this. Let's go there. Let's go there.
Well, so one of the first positives was.
Excuse me.
What?
Not positives.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
One of the first positives. You've got a list of them?
No, I've got a couple. Let's start with the positive. Let's
you want to start with the positives?
Yeah.
You want to mix it up?
Because they're short and sweet. Then we can get on to the issues.
Okay. Right? Let's do it that way.
So the positive for me was, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for others, I didn't go to the Fulham game and I was out the country. I went downstairs the night before to sort out the game being live in the bar. Arrived down at the bar in my shirt at half an hour before the game to find one TV with the Irish, the rugby on, another TV with the game with Real Madrid on, and another TV in another room with something else on. So I arranged with the guy, look, this is what's going on. Came back and I've got a whole load wanting Man City versus Newcastle, the guy who wanted the Ireland game. So he sorted them out. They're still fiddling around with the channels and couldn't find the Spurs game. So I retreated up to my room. It's just a shame that I bothered. So the only positive was I didn't have to be humiliated in front of a whole room full of people watching the game because I made such a big fuss about not getting the game. And I retreated to my room. I just wish I had missed the entire game and not had to have sat through it. That was the only positive of the day for me. I couldn't think of a single other positive thing. If you can think of one.
I've got two. But they're absolutely fuck all to do with the game. First of all, Fran, away fans were excellent, apart from people that want to rip up banners.
That's in the negatives, Brian.
Oh, mate, well, trust me. Yeah. Trust me, I'll let people know. There's a throwing coming in from me today where I'm letting rip at people, and that's coming later on today. I can assure you of that. So the two positives for me. One person mentioned it. It was a positive to start off with. We didn't wear that shitty third kit. There's like, what colour is that dress? Is it beige? Is it pink? Is it salmon? Is it brown? Is it grey?
Salmon pink.
It's horrific. It looks like a Band-Aid. And the only other positive was it was a later kickoff, so I didn't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go down for that. Right. That's the positives done. Off we go, Johnny. Off we go. And if you don't want to hear the negatives, and if you're going to be in this chat right now, and there's 129 of you going, oh, we got to give him time. Oh, this happened. And, oh, don't worry. We play one game a week. Don't worry. It's a process. It's a time. I would leave right now. Right now, because this ain't going to be for you. Johnny.
Listen, I received a lot of criticism when I said that I thought the Villa game was a false dawn, that I believed that, Villa were a very tired team after playing Ajax, and I will reserve judgment about the turning of a corner until we played Fulham. I feel vindicated. Yesterday, Paulinho and Lukic absolutely bossed it through the middle. We had no answer. 3-0 flattered us. I see all the comments, oh, but we could have scored here and we could have scored there and we might have had it should have been 3-3. You're delusional. In that first 20 minutes, right, Romero's got an amazing block. The keeper's made 2 or 3 really good saves. Some poor finishing by them and some chances that they created. We were shocking. That's our worst defeat against Fulham since 1965. It's the first time we've not scored a goal in 40 games. We've got I think we've kept 2 clean sheets in 19 games. Only Sheffield United are worse than us. Yes, but look at us. Look at our position in the league. Yes, if you want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, would we have taken this position? 100%. I would have 100% taken this position at the start of the season, considering, losing Harry and a new manager and so on and so forth. But let's be serious, okay? If you want to walk around with your head stuck in the sand and ignore what I've been going on about over and over and over again, okay? Inverted, compressed midfield, congested, high line, exposed constantly by teams that have pace and width and class in those positions, and a midfield that can win the ball back. We're lucky that was Fulham. Let's be serious, right? If we'd have played like that against an Arsenal or a Man City or a Liverpool, I think a lot of the fans would have been, AKA Newcastle of last season, leaving at half time. It was shambolic. And I'm going to say it. I look for my coach to be reactionary. I don't expect my coach to be sat on his sideline with his arms folded. I expected changes at halftime. Nothing was going right. 61 minutes, we're 3-0 down. Still no reaction from the bench. Nothing to change the game. He waited a further 5 minutes, 66 minutes before he made a change and takes the entire midfield off. The entire midfield, not one, not two, all three. I don't think, I didn't understand the changes at all in the middle of the park. Why are you taking off Maddison and not putting on Gio? Because there's creativity for a shot. You didn't even give him a minute. He's fit. There's no excuse. Listen, I can go on, Brian. I'll come back to me, because otherwise I'll just rant right the way through here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll say again. I said it on this show. I've said it on this channel. I've said it on other shows that I've been on. And I said, if there's one player that has to stay fit for the remainder of the season, and you could guarantee his fitness, the one player, without a shadow of a doubt, is Mickey van der Ven. This whole high line revolves around him. Regardless of how good a doggy, Porro, Romero does, being that high, all revolves around his pace. That's what it revolves around. And his ability to get back and defend. Whenever he's out, we are open. It's literally like open wide. It's open sesame. It's literally a field day for other teams. It's like, right, their pace has gone. Let's get at them. We have players like Iwobi making us look stupid. There is no way, and again, this will come back on it, blah, blah, blah. When you play a game that's revolved around having someone that's one of the fastest players in the Premier League as an absolute focal point at the way you play, when he's not there, you have to adapt. You can still play that style of football, just drop a little deeper. And especially, and I've said it, and Johnny, you've said it as well, the one thing Tottenham Hotspur need, and they need an elite of the elites, is a Paulinho. A hard as nails central defensive midfielder that will mop everything up, be a battering ram, pick up yellow cards, get that ball stopped out of the danger zone and off to the creative players. The defence was an absolute shambles. But the main thing I'm going to go one more. I'm just going to mention that I am going to quote. We have a fan base that have their favourite players and certain players who who aren't allowed to be criticised. And I am sorry, Yves Bissouma, the lawnmower who you and me love, Pape Matar, probably his worst game I've ever seen, and James Maddison were all non-existent. It was like we played goalkeeper, defence, attack. They were shambolic yesterday, Johnny.
You can dress it up. These fans that say, what do you expect? Klopp never had a plan B. Pep never had a plan B. Absolute twaddle. Absolute crap. I'm sorry, right? Okay, when you see it's not going right, I've managed kids, right? Kids football. I've been in games where it's all gone wrong, right? Very early on in the game. I don't sit there and go, oh, well, that's the game gone. No, I try to instigate some sort of change, either tactically or a sub or moving stuff around. Nothing changes, okay? This is the way it is, mate, right? Well, I'm sorry. That's not the way it is, mate. It's naivety and arrogance, in my opinion, to just say this is the way it is, okay? Teams have exploited it. We got lucky against Bournemouth. We got lucky against Brentford. We got lucky against Brighton, okay? We even got lucky against Sheffield United at home. Least we forget, okay? Dig your head in the sand as much as you like, okay? Tactics need to be flexible. I'm not saying he should change his ethos and attacking ethos. We're all for it after what we had with Conte. But there's a balance between Conte ball and Ange ball. What is Ange ball? When was the last time we saw Ange ball? You saw Ange ball against a Villa team that had played Ajax on the Thursday. And I said they were tiring that second half. They looked dead at the end of the first half. And then when McGinn went, they looked dead. And don't forget, we scored 2 early goals. Those final 2 goals came right at the death. I was not convinced by that performance. Yes, it was a good performance. No 2 ways about it. But I needed to be convinced that the tide had really turned and Fulham was going to be the test. They had their strongest team out for a long while. Quite interestingly, I'd highlighted Muniz at the beginning of the season, and true to form, I highlighted him and he was absolutely shocking, right? I don't think he scored a single goal in his first 10 games. And there's me raving about how good I thought he was going to be. And of course, now, he turns it on just when you don't want him to turn it on. But even Robinson, when I highlighted Paulinho 2 seasons ago should be the player for Spurs, he's too old, too much money. If you've got ambition, you buy a player like Paulinho. Doesn't matter he's 28 years of age.
Correct.
I'd rather have 4 years of Paulinho destroying the midfield. I see him at every single game. I see him when they beat Arsenal. He was outstanding as well. He's a top player. But I don't like the fact that Ange does not react to the game. I don't understand what is going on. I really don't. It's not the first time. I mean, I'm trying to hold back my rage here because, it has to be tempered with the fact that, we are sat in 5th position and we have to look at the bigger picture. And, at the start of the season, we would have taken that. I think expectations went far too high with us, not being beaten in 10 games. But since then, I've seen Ange ball twice this season. Once against Newcastle. Well, I'd say 3 times, right? Once against Newcastle when half the team was decimated. Once against Burnley away, where we still conceded 2 goals. And the first 20 minutes against Chelsea before the tide turned. Other than that, I mean, you'll include Villa, no doubt, but that was against the weakened team in that second half. I worry where we go from here. I expect us to beat Luton because they are, again, decimated with injuries. But those next few games is really going to be a test of character. We are really going to know where we are. And it's going to be a test for this fan base because we could go on a run where we don't win many games. And I'd be interested to see how the fans react to that. I don't want Ange out. We need to give him time. He needs to be having a season. I can't judge Ange totally until next season when he has this transfer window, Brian, to buy more of his players and install his ethos. But if I see the same next season as I'm seeing now, I will start to question it. Arteta struggled. I think was it 2 8th places in his first 2 seasons. So I'm tempering my anger and my lack of look. How many managers do you ever see that are like this for the entire game? I want to see passion. I don't want to see like the guy up the road.
But that's what you got with Conte, Johnny. That's what you got with Conte.
I just want to see passion. I don't need to see him going insane or mental. I just need to see something. I need to feel something that he's bothered. I wondered whether he'd gone into a coma at 3-0 down, because 61 minutes, hang on, he's got to make a sub now. Now's the time. Another 5 minutes went by.
Yep. I mean, listen, we've spoken about his subs before. I mean, we'll speak about Ange when we get to it. I just want to bring up Paddy's comment where he goes, what we need is Paddy, happy Paddy's Day to you, brother. Yep. Hope you and the family are well. Listen, Spurs need they need a lot this summer. A striker, listen, when you get rid of the world's greatest striker at the time and you don't replace him, it's a big problem. But I just looked at the league table. We've got 10 games left. Last season, playing defensive football, we had our worst defensive record in Premier League or in recent Premier League history. We're currently giving 42 goals away, and we've practically got a brand new defence, barring Romero. Obviously, we had the injuries, but we are now 21 goals away, and we still have to play Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. I can see, unfortunately, us getting quite close. I can see us getting quite close to that 63 goals again. And that's as much as we need a finisher. As much as we need a finisher, we need that enforcer. We need that enforcer very, very much so. Because you look at it, Højbjerg, I think, will be gone in the summer. We're going to have all these midfielders. Bissouma, do you know what, Johnny? I think, do you know what? Should we just get into special mentions and do this?
Can I just before we go into that, I think we can all agree that the defence, man for man, is better than last season. I think we can all agree our midfield
1,000,000%
is better than last season. Our goalkeeper is better than last season. Yet, we look more vulnerable than I've ever remember seeing a Spurs team. Every single game. Doesn't matter who we play. Doesn't matter how weak the opposition. You feel that everyone can break that line of defence. And before anyone starts, but I mean, I saw all the quotes. You know, Dragusin, he comes in and look what happens, right? He's crap, right? I'm sorry, you cannot blame one guy for that performance last night. You really can't. You really can't. I think it's outrageous to blame him in his entirety.
Listen, listen. When it comes to that, we all know what happened with Porro on his first game. Listen, it's his first full 90 minutes. His first full 90 minutes. And let's face it, like I said, our midfield, for me, was the single biggest problem. And our wingers. Sorry, everyone was, but the midfield was just bossed completely out of this game and were clueless. Couldn't pass the ball to each other. Couldn't get the ball forward. And when we did, the forwards were just woeful. Each and every single one of them. And you know what, Johnny? I'm getting more and more wound up. So I think we move to special mentions before I move it away from the manager, away from the players, and start going mental about a certain person that I'm trying not to bring up. But I will be bringing up later on today. So let's do this, Johnny. From start to finish. Let's start with Big Vic.
I think it was the only positive in the entire game. Some may question that, having let in 3 goals. The reports coming out of Spurs were that he absolutely let rip at half-time and full-time. For me, he's more of a captain than Son. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Sonny, because everyone loves Sonny. But, you know, I just think that he's got that edge, Vicario, and that like lunacy that you sort of need. He made 2 or 3 good saves. Could you blame him for anything? I thought the Lukic goal was a good goal. I think he meant it with his knee. And I think Muniz's goal, that first touch from Robertson's cross. Another player who, by the way, when I suggested Robertson could be good enough to come and play for Spurs, I got laughed at. I think Spurs fans believe that we are better than we actually are and look down on other clubs' players. I think yesterday showed that, we can be embarrassed by players. So I've got nothing really negative to say too much about Vicario. You know, 2 of the goals were more or less unstoppable, and he made 2 or 3 decent saves.
He did make 2 or 3 decent saves, but his distribution again was lackluster. Nowhere near Hugo Lloris, and don't get me wrong. This is just, listen, he made some very good saves. He kept the scoreline down, but some of his distribution at times is a little bit lackluster, to say the least. Right, who am I going for? We're doing all of them. I'm going to start with the left, and I'm going to say someone I love dearly, Destiny Udogie. Your worst game by a billion miles. Me and my dad had a scientifically proven theory with Benoit Assou-Ekotto. When he had his hair in his braids, he was awesome. When he had his afro, the aerodynamics messed him up, and he had a shocker. Well, Destiny, when he has his dreadlocks, plays great. And yesterday we went for the cornrows for some reason. Obviously, it's his own hair. He can do what he wants. But he had a stinker. An absolute stinker. And now me and my dad are getting to work again with the scientific theory. Let's hope he's back to dreads for Luton. It was a poor performance for him. Johnny, your thoughts on Destiny yesterday?
That's a very interesting conspiracy theory.
Tin hats out, mate. You watch it. Work with Benoit. It worked with Benoit. Scientific. Go back and watch him.
I know. Listen, I remember him. But look, it was awful. It was a naive. It reminded me of a sort of a 19, 20-year-old who'd been given his first chance playing for the club and been totally exposed. Then you'll hear the people who will say, yes, but it's because Mickey didn't play and couldn't cover him. What, you mean Ange didn't go through this, in his tactical analysis pre-game? No, he was caught in the wrong place. I think he was involved in all 3 of the goals, if I'm not mistaken, coming down his side. So, yeah, I thought it was his worst game in a Spurs shirt by a country mile. So, yep. Couldn't disagree with you with anything that you said there.
Your next player.
Pedro Porro's passing was absolutely shambolic. I think it was something like 72% pass completion. He gave the ball, he got forward. I think in the first 20 minutes, he gave the ball away 3 or 4 times and then was madly trying to chase back to try and get the ball back. Failed. I don't know what was going on. Honestly, link-up play wasn't there with Kulu. It was just shocking. His positioning was shocking. His passing was shocking. I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. It was extremely poor, and it was AKA Pedro Porro v Leicester. First game he played for us in February, end of January, February 2023. Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, I completely agree. I am a huge fan of Pedro Porro. I've had to eat humble pie this season a lot because I didn't think he was a right back at all. I thought he's horrific, but this season I still stand by the most improved player at the club. Love that man to death. But yesterday he was just not at it. First half, he made a good couple of defensive challenges and tried to do shit. But like you said, one of his main attributes and what he brings is his passing and playmaking. And his radar was off yesterday. He mustn't have put it on charge overnight or whatever, because yesterday he was not good at all. Right. Let me deal with Dragushin. He came on against Aston Villa, team playing very, very well before he came on, and then obviously we did what we did, and he played very well. He came on, and we spoke about it, Johnny, here, and said, listen, it's going to be his first 90 minutes. Let's see how he does. And you know what? It wasn't the greatest of performance. Him and Porro down that right-hand side, or sorry, him and Destiny were not at the races. They weren't syncing up. He was pushing high line a couple of times in the first half, and they broke the offside trap through him. It's going to take him time to adapt. Do I think that anyone on that bench would have done better? No, not in this game. It was as much as his debut, coming on against Villa, was a day to remember. This will be a day to forget for Dragusin. But again, that goes for the entire rest of the team. That's where we are. So yeah, what's your thoughts on Dragusin?
I thought Destiny let Dragusin down big time. He exposed him. I was getting pissed off with the TV, to be honest with you. They're talking about him playing on the left side of the three, playing, and he's left-footed. No, he played in the centre of a back three for Genoa, and he's not left-footed. He's right-footed, right? So let's get it right. You know, when you're commentating, you should know what you're bloody talking about. Not unusual for Sky with our anti-Spurs bias that seems to be on there. Look, did he have a great game? No. I do think he's going to be a threat from corners. I do think he likes to get forward. He's quite powerful in the air. He did not have a good game, but I can't blame him for the Muniz goal, the first one, because that ball in from Robinson was beautifully taken on the outside of his right foot. Just killed it, bang, in the back of the net. There was no time to react for him or Vicario. So it wasn't a good debut, full debut. But I'm not going to sit there like others I've seen on Twitter and on Instagram. And easiest thing, Mickey wasn't playing. This Muppet's come in. Absolute useless signing. Already he's consigned to the bin.
But you know what, Jimmy? That's 50% right. It's 50% right. Like I said at the beginning, with Van der Ven not playing and playing this high line,
yeah, but it's not
a problem. But it's not. The second part, Dragusin the Muppet, is completely wrong.
But can I ask you, what system do you know in football where one man taketh one man out and the whole system breaks down? That's not a system. That's a joke. That's a joke. I'm sorry. That is not a system. You can't have a system on one player, remove one player, and it all falls apart. That is not a system, Brian. And that is the system. You've got to have plan B, right? Well, when I get accused of saying, what is plan B? What is plan B? I don't know. Ask Ange. Ask Ange what plan B is, because there isn't one.
Antonio Conte didn't have a plan B. It was 3-4-3, 3-4-3, 3-4-3. Mourinho, when he played Serge Aurier, we had to make sure that we had someone who could stay back on the left so he can. So again, it was right. Let's make sure if he's up there. When Harry Redknapp came in, no plan B, none. Even Spurs fans were singing Gareth Bowie plays on the left. We have always done it with one. There's one man. Listen, Harry Kane up top. There's always been this. But when you are playing a high line, and I love the style of football we're playing, and when we're playing our fullbacks going so high, you need Mickey Van der Ven and someone that fast to mop up the crap when that breaks down. And when you take his pace out, done.
So what you're saying, Brian, in essence is, without the fastest man in European football, there is no system.
For the defence, by the looks of it. Looks of it.
So Brian, my argument is, are you saying to me, right, he's not playing, I'm not for changing? It is what it is, mate. Right? No, I'm sorry. Right? I'm not asking him to dramatically change the system, but make small tweaks to it. Say to Destiny, right, you can't go rampaging in certain moments of the pitch because you need to protect Dragusin, or vice versa. You know Robinson was going to attack down that flank. That's his game. That's his game. My worries from the outset of this game was, could we control Paulinho and Pereira in the middle of the park? And as it so happens, it was Lukic and Paulinia that absolutely bossed it. But I'm not going to blame Dragusin as the sole reason, like I could see so many of the people on Twitter have done. He is the sole reason. So what you're saying is, without Mickey van der Ven, we might as well go home and give up. I'm sorry, that's rubbish. That's absolute rubbish.
Mate, look at the evidence.
Yes, but it shouldn't be that way, Brian, is what I'm saying.
No, that completely agree with you. And that's why we needed a 6. That's why on games where he's not there, I'm sorry, but like you say, there, and I said this yesterday on Tottenham away, you look at it, and I used to say this with Harry Kane as well. There are certain games, and not just Harry Kane, other players that we've had, and I'll give you a prime example in a moment. There are players on that team that are good enough to say, if we're playing crap, do you know what? The ball's not coming to me. I'm going to the ball and I'm taking this game by the scruff of the neck and I'm changing this game, or I'm making sure I have a bigger impact. Gareth Bale, his last season, if it weren't for that man going, do you know what? Just give me the ball, lads. I'll take care of everything. Paul Gascoigne, when he was there, if the ball was, just go watch 4-2 Oxford.
Game changers.
Where literally he takes the ball, bang, here we go. There are players on that pitch yesterday. A Maddison, who has not been the same since coming back from injury. A Bissouma, who has shown what he can do. That should be grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and sorting shit out, and saying this ain't happening. That arrogance they went into in this game yesterday after a 4-0 win at Villa. And we haven't even spoken about that's the end of that scoring in every single game run.
Yeah.
Another, but wait, we've just done so, mate. It's up to you with Romero.
I'm going to go to Romero. I thought he was our best defender, right?
Yeah.
Whatever I might think. His pass completion was something like 93%. He won all of his tackles. He won most of his aerial duels. Not even he could do anything about that. I mean, that block in the first few minutes, which looked like it was going to be a certain goal. His passing accuracy was very good. His blocking was good. He was trying his best, but the rest of them were asleep.
Bingo.
Well, Colin, there's a balance, okay? There's a balance to everything, and this is my point. We need a balance between Conte and Ange, okay? We've gone from one extreme over here to the other extreme over there. We need to meet somewhere in the middle to balance these out. He's saying he's not for changing, no matter what. No matter if we get beaten 4-0, 3-0, 4-0, 3-0, he's not for changing. He's not going to compromise. Now, I think that personally, that's arrogance. You're in the Premier League now, okay? I know you've got a fantastic record, but I'm diversing here. We'll come on to that after. So for me, Romero was the best of our defence.
Yep, I mean, right, let's go for the midfield. Oh, no, I'll do Romero, sorry, and then we'll go to the midfield. Romero, for me, started fantastically. A brilliant couple of blocks, trying to get involved. And then, obviously, just everything went to pot. He was, like you said, our best defender on the day, which wasn't exactly hard to do. And yeah, just like I said, started off fantastically. Didn't really see what he did in the second half, but now I'm going to tackle Yves Bissouma. And just like I had my scientific theory about Benoit Assou-Ekotto, do you know the one thing Yves Bissouma is missing from the first 10 games of the season, apart from his form, his confidence? That blooming elbow bandage that he kept wearing on one sleeve. I think I need to start a petition to bring that back to Bissouma. I think, like Samson with his hair, Bissouma's power lies in that elbow or arm sleeve thing he had for protection on his arm. It was just, listen, he played well against Palace, but more like his old self. He played well against Aston Villa. And he thought, okay, there's a bit of momentum. Hopefully now we'll come into the swing of things. And then yesterday was just it was like he weren't even on the pitch. Honestly, he was he was shocking yesterday, and I'm going to stop there because I will go absolutely apoplectic on him. I am so disappointed in him yesterday. So disappointed.
I thought you were going to go on about his hairstyle.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Look, I must admit, I question Conte.
No, sorry, Magic. They're not superstitions. Scientifically proven.
Scientifically, aerodynamically inept.
Yes.
But look, I questioned Conte when he wasn't playing Basuma. I said, how can a guy who played for Lille as a progressive midfielder and then playing under Potter, under Brighton, as a sort of more of a defensive midfielder, I expect to see the hybrid version of him. And then he's not playing. He doesn't understand our system. Well, let me tell you, I question that. He does not understand this system. He played well for the first few games. I'm not going to be saying that he played very well against a poor Palace team with half their midfield missing, right? And most of their attack missing, or against a Villa team. He wasn't outstanding in that first half. He was okay in that first half. The second half, yeah, when they were tiring and McGinn was disappeared from the game. I'm not going to judge it on that. Like I said, I want to judge Tottenham on the next game against Fulham. Prove to me that this is the real deal. And they failed miserably. And he failed miserably. Paulinho, I will say it again and again and again and again. He is on another level. Yes, he's got 12 yellow cards. Yes, he's been suspended for 3 or 4 games this season. I don't care. I don't care. He scores goals. He creates goals. He breaks up defence. He is the all-round, all-encompassing, combative number 6. And I'll be honest with you, I'd pay 60, 70 million pounds to whack him in that team, because put him in there and put Papa next to him will be far better. Anyway, moving on. Go on. So I'll go James Maddison. Absolutely shambolic. I said at the beginning of the season that I didn't expect him to play more than 20 games, 25 games in the season. And when I was speaking to Leicester fans, they said, forget how many games he's injured. Wait till he comes back, because it takes him weeks to find his rhythm. This is his worst goal scoring season for a club, and the worst assists he's had for a club since he's been at Leicester. Why? We are playing progressive football, are we not? Is this game not tailor-made for James Maddison? What was he doing? Again, he's dropping so deep trying to pick up the ball. He can't get on the ball. He can't influence the game. He had a couple of moments where he got onto the ball, and he had one chance where he tried to pass it into the net when Leno was rooted to his spot, and he hit a ball which was seen to be positioned by the side of the post. Other than that, he was anonymous. Yeah. And I've got to be honest with you, the other thing that pissed me off after the challenge, I want to see my players angry being dragged off after 66 minutes. Yeah, you want to play for England, 66 minutes. I look at other players and other teams that have been dragged off after 70, 75 minutes, and they're furious, throwing their tails down. He ran off. He couldn't get off the pitch quick enough. Go and look back on the video, right? Why? Why aren't you remonstrating with Ange? Why am I being taken off? He was poor again. Poor.
Yep, there was just a little bit of housekeeping to do at the moment. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Phil. Happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all. Spurs were gash. Yes, they were. Just there's 293 people watching, and 153 of them are currently on YouTube. We have 65 likes currently. Anyone that is watching on Twitter, and there's over 150 of you, the link to join YouTube and be able to take part in the chat is on my tweet. So please feel free to come in via that link. It will take you straight here and come and get involved in the chat as well. Right.
Just to say, Brian, just to add to that, if you can if you are in the YouTube, if you could give us a like, please, or comment, because that helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow. And I'm sure there'll be lots of comments about me being negative about Ange or anybody. This is about the game, okay? This is about the game. If you think there was lots of positives, good luck to you, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So, well, James Maddison. So when we talk about James Maddison, first of all, I've got a very, very good friend, a really close friend of mine, good friend of the channel and many channels, called Wayne Holland, who is a Leicester City fan, who I speak to on a regular basis, and he's been in chats, and he said exactly what you said about James Maddison. Listen, there is no doubt James Maddison is a wonderfully gifted player, an incredibly gifted player. Started the season probably the most electric start for a Premier, like one player of the month in August, didn't he? He was on fire before that injury. He's come back and he does look a shell of himself. It is taking time. One thing I don't get from James Maddison, I don't know if I'm the only one that's seen this, is one of his greatest assets is his long range shooting and his ability to get a shot off quick. And we saw it at Leicester time after time after time. I've seen in the last few games on many occasions where there's an opening for him to shoot, but he's trying to find a pass. I don't know if this is Ange telling him this is how I want you to play, or he doesn't want to take the shot on, but I don't know why, when we've got a player that is incredible at scoring and shooting on target from distance, why the reluctance to do so? I don't know if I'm the only one that's seeing this. There's just, he had 2 or 3 openings. He had a chance against Villa where he could have easily bended it into the top corner, but he tried to find the pass. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Maddison, like I said, when he gets back on song, and I'm really hoping that we don't hear, because that was a bad tackle on his ankle yesterday, and I'm just hoping.
Could have been a red.
Yeah. I'm just hoping we don't. I mean, it's international break, so he's got a couple of weeks. But with the games, listen, after Luton, that month where everyone thought after Villa, or people, not everyone, people thought after Villa, oh, that's it. We're going to win these games. We're going to, if we do this, we'll be 5 points behind Arsenal or 2 points behind Arsenal. Let's put that daydream back in the box where it belongs, because all of a sudden we're here. Luton, and I'll tell you now, this time last year, when it comes to Luton, we had that shocking show against Bournemouth. That absolute shocker. And don't write Luton off. Do not write Luton off. But yeah, Maddison needs to get fit. When he gets fit and firing, unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's a player that yesterday I would have expected to say, right, give me the goddamn ball. This is unacceptable. I'm going to make something happen. And he was just absolutely nowhere to be seen. And talking of nowhere to be seen, and do you know what? This is going to be the most painful one for me to do. You and me love him. A lot of people, everyone loves him and what he's done for this football team. Lee Harvey has given him the nickname that I've adopted and call him by now. The lawnmower, Pape Matar Sarr, yesterday looked like a schoolboy. He did. Listen, he's young, he'll grow, but he's had games where he's bossed that midfield. He's been at the San Siro last year and bossed it. Came into this side this season, bossed it. Games recently been absolutely incredible. Villa was absolutely magnificent. And yesterday, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to evaluate or put into words just how shocking he was, Johnny.
Well, for me, interesting that actually, because for me, I thought he was the best of the midfield three. He constantly pressured, right? We weren't pressuring anybody, right, in the first few minutes, and first 10, 15 minutes. Then we upped our press, and it was him that was winning back the ball. It was him that was pressuring, fouling a couple of times. I think he found Paulinho and Pereira. But he was the only one for me who I would have kept on in the middle of the park, to be honest. It wasn't a good game for him, granted. But I think Bissouma and Maddison, he gave a more mature performance than those two, and it should have been the other way around. As you know, as the apprentice, the masters and the apprentice. I think no wonder Sar's had a back issue because he's been carrying Bissouma, I was a bit surprised that he came off. I'll be honest with you. As I said, he won back possession a few times, but still not good enough.
Right.
So who are we going to? Right, I'm going to go to Brennan Johnson.
Okay, good.
He was absolutely shocking yesterday, right? I've been told I got an agenda. I asked for him to be more aggressive. I asked him to be more committed. It was quite interesting on the analysis by the actual Sky guys yesterday that actually highlighted exactly what I said right from the nose. He doesn't track back enough. He doesn't work hard enough coming back. He's not aggressive enough in the tackle. He was all of those things against Crystal Palace to win that first goal. And he did exceptionally well and was aggressive against a Villa. Yesterday, shocking. 70% pass completion. Didn't have a clue what to do yesterday with the ball. Overrun the ball, didn't control the ball, made the wrong runs, came inside when he should have gone outside. Shambolic, absolutely shambolic. But let me tell you something. He is Ange's pet, right? Obviously, we all know that Ange bought him. We all know that Ange wanted him. How did he stay on that pitch till 80 minutes? He should have come off with Kulu way before 80 minutes, in my opinion. Obviously not shared by a lot of people who are Johnson fans. I hope he's successful, but he's going to have to do a darn sight better than that, honestly, because it was shambolic yesterday. Weak.
Right, so I am a fan of Brennan Johnson. I am someone that constantly comes out and says, he'll come good, there'll be a player there, there'll be a player there. And as I always say, if I'm man enough to, when I'm man enough to criticise, I've got to be man enough to credit. Well, it works the other way around as well. And yesterday simply wasn't good enough from Brennan Johnson. Simply was not good enough. I think maybe his recent performances not got into his head, so to speak, but the confidence started, and it was just a shit show. He started off bright. Some of the first half, he was trying to do things. He was being listen. He was trying.
Made all the wrong choices, though.
Not always. 90% of the time. Don't get me wrong, Johnny. 90% of the time, without a doubt, he did. It was not a good day at the office for him at all.
Can I ask you though, Brian? Do you really believe that he should have still been on that pitch after 80 minutes?
No, but no, I don't. But I tell you what, you mentioned another player, and I'm bringing him up now because I'm sick and tired of this. I am sick and tired of talking about this player. Let's talk about Dejan Predictability. Everyone, all going on. The letter, how magnificent his. Listen, it was we did a player focus, and we spoke on Tottenham on tour on Friday, and we spoke about what he brings to the team and what he does defensively. Yesterday, he was goddamn awful. Goddamn awful. We all talk about how well he does defensively and holding the ball up, and a game where this was going on yesterday and the way we were overrun, this is exactly when I expect to see Daki showing that this is what he does and bringing the football forward. He was absolutely horrific in the first half. He was absolutely pathetic in the second half. You want to talk about subs and Brennan Johnson, should he have been on at 80 minutes? I don't think Dejan Predictability should have been on the 46th minute. He should not have come out of the tunnel. And other players, he should not have come out for that second half. And people keep going on about how vital Dejan Kulusevski is to this team and his great defensive work and his hold-up play and bringing the ball forward. But when we really needed it, when we were getting overrun, and Porro, who we said had a bad game, where was he? What was he doing? Where was anything that he brought to that game yesterday? He was absolutely horrific yesterday, and he just. We talk about Brennan Johnson needing time on the bench, and yes, he does. Yes, he does. He's an impact sub. There's got to be a way to incorporate something where I don't know how Kulusevski is starting every single game. He should be in the... Mate, do you know what? In fact, when Maddison was playing so bad, move Kulusevski into the goddamn centre if you're going to do anything and let him have a bit more freedom. But no, keep playing him on the right. He was woeful yesterday. Absolutely shambolic, Johnny.
Look, I don't understand any of it, Brian. You know, even from the basic tactical situation, there was one moment where he cut inside into the middle. Shoot! No. I can't remember who was commentating. He said, "Why has he just cut back onto his? Why has he just cut back onto his foot? He should have shot. He could have passed. He could have shot. He could have done anything. What he's just done, the only thing he could have done to screw up the situation is what he did. I don't understand why Ange didn't switch them even. Try it. Put him on the left. Put Brennan on the right. See if you can change it. See if you can change circumstances. See if it gives Robinson something to think about, right? He did nothing. Move him into the middle. Did nothing. Yet he was still on the pitch. We're 3-0 down. 20 minutes have gone since they went 3-0 up. And to the players who are influencing absolutely nothing and are doing absolutely nothing remained on the pitch. What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? I'll tell you what he's got. He's got more faith in those two than everyone else on the bench. And that includes Richarlison. That includes Lo Celso, right? He's got no interest in those players. He's got no interest in Gio. I don't even get it. Why put him on the bench? If you're not gonna bring him on, as soon as Maddison went off, Gio should have been on. Anyway, Kulu was poor yesterday. His link-up play with Porro was awful. His tracking back was awful. It was just awful. And he shouldn't have been on the pitch. Simple as that. Okay? I would have taken him off. I would have made subs at half-time, Brian, personally. But...
Mate, I would have done a Mourinho and actually made some before half-time, if I'm honest. If I'm totally honest. But before we go onto the bench, you're left with Sonny, mate.
Oh, I forgot about him. Did he play? Some of the passes, I mean, he made 2 passes for Brennan Johnson in that first half. You know, it looked like EA Sports, it's in the game where you haven't tapped your finger long enough on the button, right? And the pass was short. That wasn't Brennan Johnson's fault. That was Son's fault. He had one chance where Maddison came down on that left-hand side, put the ball across for Son, and Son on form puts that ball in the back of the net. Maybe the result might have been different, but he should have put that in the top right-hand corner. Leno was rooted to the spot, nothing he could do, and he put it over the bar. That's about it for me.
Do you know what? He was poor yesterday. He was so poor. But do you know what? I'm talking about what he did or didn't do in the game is irrelevant right now. What got to me yesterday, and it's the same shit over and over again, and it's Son who had to do it and came out and said it. I want to apologise from the plans. We learned from this. We must do better. How many captains, how many players, how many times he did it to save Spurs Twitter coming out with their bollocks that they normally do. Yesterday, again, another player that should grab the game by the scruff of the bloody neck and say, we are Tottenham Hotspur. This is unacceptable, and get involved. Get involved. You mentioned again, like you said, bring him out on the left, take Johnson off, put Richarlison up front.
Try something.
Yesterday, he was poor. Really, really poor. And before people start going on, this isn't anti-Son. This isn't Son is crap. This isn't Son offers nothing. This is in the game against Fulham. Our captain, I've got more chance of finding where's Wally. Or as we say over here in North America, where's Waldo? He was missing. But he comes out and does what he does with his captain responsibility. But I'm sick and tired of hearing our captain say, we must learn from this. We move on. We must do. But I'm sick to death of it. Right.
Subs.
I mean, go on, Johnny. Oh, no, it's me, isn't it? It's me. You just tell me.
Go on.
Can't even remember the subs. They're non-existent. Timo Werner. Don't know. He missed his opportunities. Listen, I was all for his signing when we got him on loan. I thought it was a very shrewd bit of business. I thought it could be an inspired signing. I thought, you know what? If we get him, I thought like the miss against Crystal Palace was bad, and we thought, you know what? He's now had a couple of games, got a couple of goals, been more involved. Now's the start sign. Listen, all great players miss sitters. We've seen Haaland do it. We've seen Salah do it. We've seen it happens. It happens, but it just offered nothing. Nothing, Johnny.
Terrible, mate. I mean, look, the miss was terrible. No excuses. I mean, what? He missed that? How did he miss it? I'm still like, do you know what, Brian? I've got to be honest with you. 10 minutes before the end, I gave up. I can't remember the last time I did that. I was listening to the game, but I was more interested in Twitter and, you know, what was going on in there because I'd given up. I felt like it was self-harming having to watch that. But I saw the miss, and what can you say? We were just going through the motions. Shocking. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's Timo Werner's the reason we lost. Just the same, it's not Dragusin's fault that we lost. This is a collective. This is a team game, and 95% of that squad, or 98% of it, was shambolic on the day. So,
absolutely bang on. Who's the next sub you want to do? I'm just bringing up the subs we actually made.
Gio, what's the point of bringing Gio on? I mean,
okay.
Gio,
so we got Højbjerg came on the 66th. So I'm gonna tell you now, I can't even remember him coming on.
Can I just tell you something? What I do remember is he came on and I could see him getting angry with players. You know, he was going like this, you know, like, get stuck in, win the battle. It was like they gave up, right? I saw him gesture to a few people. It was hard to see who he was gesturing to, but he was gesturing in a manner which said, you know, get stuck in, battle, fight, you know, put your chin up like this. He was doing this, you know. That's all I saw.
Mate, I need you. I'm being serious now because I'll tell you one thing. What happened in the Scotland Yard yesterday is it was absolutely heaving like never before. But not just for Tottenham. Obviously, St Patrick's Day and Ireland were playing the rugby. So the members' half of the Scotland Yard was just packed of Spurs fans. And the other half was just packed of Irish fans watching the rugby. And literally, I cannot remember what any of these subs did apart from Werner's miss. I can't even remember them coming on.
I like I said to you, I'd almost switched off. I wish I had watched the rugby rather than watching that. Listen, it was awful. I think we should just get on to Ange.
Yep, let's do it. I was just hovering over it. Let's do this.
I've got to tell you, right? Look, I've mentioned this before. Okay, I don't understand. People say, "Oh, in a plan B, what do you want him to do? What do you want him to do?" Well, we've spoken about it now. You could have switched Kulu and Johnson left to right. You could have taken Johnson off, who was having a shocking game, and put Richarlison on through the middle and switched Sonny out to the left. You could have taken Kulu off and put Johnson out on the right and Kulu on and Sonny on the left and what's the name through the middle. You could have taken Maddison off, right, and put Gio on after 60 minutes and giving him half an hour instead of giving him like 4 minutes. 4 minutes. You know, what does that say? You know, we're not creating anything. He's not creating anything. Give him a chance. Give him a chance, right? Good enough for Argentina. Look, I'm getting immensely frustrated with this. What do you expect him to do? It's early days. We know it's early days. But this, it's a hindrance, him only having one game a week. Absolute shit, right? We said about, it's a great idea. We've got no European football. Since when did not having European football become a disadvantage for a new coach? Every week he's got a whole week to prepare for the game ahead. Why then are we looking the leggy team? After a team's played in Europe or teams... Liverpool played 17 games more than us. Arsenal have played something like 10, 12 games more than us. We look leggy. We look knackered. We look devoid of ideas. Why do we look so tired when we're playing one game a week? If this is how we are one game a week, and those who are wanting desperately to get Champions League football, what mess are we going to be in? Right now, I don't believe we are in any shape, way or form ready for Champions League football. You think we're going to be embarrassed by Fulham, right? Wait till we play a high line, playing that sort of kamikaze football at times, you know, against top teams. I do believe we'll beat Luton next week because Luton are absolutely decimated. They've got 2 weeks. They've got no players left. I love Luton. I think they're everyone's team that they hope they stay up. Got a late goal yesterday, but seriously, they've hardly got any players left in that team, and I expect us to absolutely trounce them at home, but then struggle again, come up against the same thing against West Ham, and Forest will give us a game. But I'm sorry, I'm not Ange out, but I've got to be allowed to question the tactics, the subs, and the lack of adaptability to the situation.
Johnny, I'm just listening. I've said it. I don't want Champions League. I don't care if anyone wants to clip it, do anything. I've said it a billion times before. What do I want Champions League for? So I can hear some music and then
happy with Europa League,
and then not compete, and extra money going into someone's pockets, and we sign players like last time we were in the Champions League and bring Clement Longley in. That real good Champions League, brilliant addition. Go to the Europa League. You talk about, and Joe, it's a great thing you said about how many games Liverpool have played more, the Filth have played more, all these other teams have played more. Liverpool have played their youngsters, whether it's by hook or by crook, whether it's someone like Bradley who has come through and done it, or like in the Carabao Cup final where they're decimated with injuries and played it. I want Europa League football. Send those youth, because that's the only place they're going to get football and show their worth to Tottenham Hotspur, or they'll go on loan, and this golden generation that's coming through will get used. Take 5, 6, 7 first teamers, rotate them every single away game, give that youth a try, leave a lot of the first teamers there every other week, rotate them so they're ready for this first team. We cannot, like you said, people want us to get Champions League to try and compete in the greatest competition when playing one game a week. We can't compete. One game a week. Everyone said, "Don't worry. Look at when Chelsea were out of Europe. Look when this team was out of Europe. Look when that team was out of Europe." What did they do straight after? Qualify for the Champions League. Yesterday, Ange takes a lot of responsibility. Listen, I will be very, very open and always blame everything on Levy. And I have a famous saying that I always say, which is, once those players cross the white line, the result and the performance has absolutely nothing to do with Levy. But the very fact they're able to cross that white line and allowed to put in performances like that has everything to do with Levy. But yesterday, it's totally on the players and Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
Ange Postecoglou should have seen what happened. I mean, we've seen at half time, in recent games, like you said, Brentford, Brighton, Villa, and Crystal Palace.
Well, I mean, there's been loads.
Going at half time, just like Conte, second half Tottenham, we've come out and gone absolutely hell for leather in the second half. We were worse in the second half than the first half.
Yeah.
And no changes. And he went, the one thing I'm going to bring up big time with him today is he went to make those changes at 2-0. You saw the players warming up. He held off, he held off, he held off 3-0. There's been a lot of times here at the beginning where people even questioned his subs when he's bringing on Ollie Skip on or when he was bringing this on. But 9 times out of 10, whether we agreed with the substitutes or not, and the timing, whatever, they worked. So it's well done, Ange. Well done. You honestly called it bang on the money. That's what the manager does. Yesterday, his timing, his selection of substitutions were completely and totally and utterly incorrect, in my opinion, Johnny.
Can I just interject into that? Actually, at the beginning of the show, you made a little mistake. You said Fulham 4, Tottenham 0. Okay.
Oh, 3-0. Sorry, but
yeah, you said 4-0, but you could have been right. Okay, they scored the 4th goal. It wasn't to the 4th goal. He decided to make the changes, right? I mean, what was he waiting for? Divine intervention? Divine intervention? I don't know. Top managers react, right, when they see it's not going right. The first 20 minutes, it was not going right. We've seen Mourinho make changes after 20 minutes. We've seen Conte. We've seen Pep. We've seen Arteta. We've seen all the top managers react. Okay?
Yep.
I like to watch the game like I'm watching a movie. Well, okay. This was one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time, okay? I would have left the theatre had that been the movie I was watching. You know, I would have turned to my helpers and go, is this not a shitty movie or what? Okay. What they needed to do in this movie was X, Y, and Z. I don't know what movie he was watching, but like I said, 5 minutes after we were 3-0 down and they'd scored the 4th and disallowed, he decided to make a change and remove the entire midfield. I didn't understand any of his changes. Nothing changed.
There's something we can talk about, and I've seen a few people say it, but A-User has put it in a super chat. Thank you very much, A-User, for your support of the channel always. Is the training sessions too intense that leaves the players tired before games, or is it late night parties before games? Something is amiss. Squad is changed. Now,
can you say that? Are you allowed to say that? Because every time I've made a comment, Brian, I was on another channel, should remain nameless, and they all came for me because I dare question Ange tactics. Okay, it's a question. You know, there's no point being on these shows for you or I or for any YouTuber to come on there and just blow smoke up his arse or to criticize unnecessarily, right? But when you can see it plain as day, I'd be amiss not to say something. And, you know, we've said, you know, why are so many players knackered? Why are so many of our squad injured? And I'm in agreement. I think it's the intensity of the training. And it's certainly not working.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've monitored and listened to a lot of Celtic fans ever since we've appointed him for obvious reasons. They know him a lot better than we can. I knew of him at Celtic. I knew the style of football he's playing, but did I know everything about him and his background? And no, I didn't. Celtic fans have obviously, when they first appointed him, Alan Brazil even said it on TalkSport. Who? What? This is a joke. And a lot of Celtic fans said, you watch, in the first season, you're going to have loads of injuries because of his demanding training and yada, yada, yada. And in the second season, it all comes together. Whether that happens in the second season or not, obviously the Scottish
League.
League.
It is, Brian. Let's all
I hope it is. But what I'm saying is, you look at it and we go on about the medical team and the medical team are crap, the medical team blah. Everything the Celtic fans have said about Ange, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're talking about. Ian Meth, who is a brilliant friend of the channel, has come on here loads and loads of times. Die-hard Tottenham fan, lives in Glasgow, follows Celtic religiously when he's not with Spurs. It's been a home away Europe with Celtic. He was the first one where second Conte was sacked, was saying about Ange Postecoglou. Yeah. Everything he has said from seeing him at close quarters, yet again, has been totally and utterly correct. There is definitely something going on in training, because we all said, oh, one game a week, this is going to be perfect for us. We'll lap this up. Well, we haven't. And do you know what? I'm just going to move on to Paddy's comment.
Can I just say one thing? How many top managers are in the Scottish Premier League that he's had to pit his wits against? How many top managers were they at Yokohama in the Japanese league? How many top managers has he pitted his wits against in the top league in Australia? And let me tell you, for Celtic, for any Celtic fan that's out there now watching, when he's pitted his wits in Europe with Celtic, he's been found wanting every single time. He had a few minutes against Real Madrid. Yeah, he gave him a few problems, but ultimately got schmeiced. Okay, so for me, this arrogance that I'm not for changing, it is what it is, mate, right? This is my ethos, come what may, I'm never changing, in my opinion, is disrespectful to the much higher caliber of managers that are in the Premier League. Some of the best managers in world football are here. And, you know, you have to adapt. You have to adapt. All the managers have adapted. Pep, Klopp, Arteta, all of them. They change it around.
Yep, I'm just going to bring up two of Paddy's comments because they kind of go on exactly what we're talking about. And Paddy's bang on the money. And Paddy, listen, me and him differ most of the time when it comes to the ownership, and I do with a lot of people. But when it comes to on the pitch and everything, people have their opinions, and a lot of the time, I tend to agree with Paddy. And yesterday's result to me was the blame of everyone involved, but could have been prevented with changes. So Ange has to take a lot more blame than the others. Spot on. He's not Ange out. We're not Ange out. People that criticise Ange aren't Ange out. He's up for criticism today. He even accepted it himself.
Everyone's
the second one going on to it, he said, look, I have a good mate that's a Celtic fan, just like I was touching about before. And he said the same issue in his first season, but leveled out in the second as the players got used to it, which is all well and good. It just goes to show, obviously, it's going to take windows to get. I understand that. Again, we'll see in the summer. But listen, to wrap things up, it was just a horror show for everyone involved at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Loads of people in the comments here saying, do you know what? This week, something must have happened in-house. Whether it has, listen, I'm not saying a bust up. You can't go unless it's the pure arrogance of our players who think, well, we beat Aston Villa 4-0. Well, let's take confidence. We're going to do this now. Let's show them. And just thought they could roll up to Craven Cottage and play whatever they wanted and get away with it. That's arrogance and naivety. Whether something has gone on, whether there's been a row in the training ground, whether there's been a whatever, you don't go from that high to that low like that in 1 week with no in between games.
I think it's been lurking, Brian. I think this has been lurking in the background for weeks. I really do. You know, I've commented about this. You know, we will come across a team who are going to expose us. You know, we've got away with a lot. We got away with it against Brentford. We got away with it against Brighton, against Bournemouth. You know, Bournemouth were incredibly wasteful. 25 attempts they had. Ridiculous. We just gave it up. That could have been far worse than this game. You know, I was at Brighton where we got absolutely ripped to shreds against the Brighton team who had 3/4 of their team out. You know, look, this isn't a new thing. Okay. You know, it's there, it's lurking in the background. Everyone is to blame. The players are to blame, the managers to blame. But I don't believe
George, I will say with this, George, this is the problem. if we seem to struggle, on these tight grounds, then you go, wait a minute, it's a tight ground. We have struggled on this before.
Change it.
There we go.
Hallelujah.
Paddy, big up. Thank you. Have a great Paddy. All the Irish people, or everyone, please, I can't have a drink. Every single person that's having a drink on Paddy's Day, please have one for me.
St. Patrick's Day. St. Paddy's Day.
So listen, I've got Paddy's name up here, so let me just give it was. But listen, Johnny, we're going to wrap it up there before I blow a gasket.
Can I just say before we disappear, if anyone's still in the chat, it's good housekeeping. You know, when you go out the door, you close it behind you. If you're going out the door, please hit that like button on your way out the door. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It all helps the algorithm. Good, bad, or indifferent. If you hate what we had to say, if you agree with what we had to say, all helps. And we appreciate anyone who's taken their time out to come and watch the show today. We wish it would be more positive. We want to be positive. It's not the end of the world. We're in the start of a journey. And as I said, if you zoom out and you asked us at the beginning of this season, with Harry Kane gone and the new manager coming in, we would have taken 5th place and be in this position, you're darn right we would have. Okay. Yep. Our expectations were sent skyrocketing with the first 10 games. Okay. We've come back down to earth now and we're scurrying around. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm looking at the fixtures coming up. Man United have got a much easier fixture list to finish the season off than us. So rather than looking up, I'm looking over my shoulder right now. And come on, West Ham today.
And Johnny, where can people find you?
Can find me here, Johnny H3232. Give me a follow on Twitter. And if you go into my bio, there's my Instagram account, which I'm trying to build back up after losing 9,500 followers on that, where I post videos and other stuff. So if you get time, if you're on Instagram, please go into my Twitter account and just in the bio, hit that Instagram follow. And Brian, thanks again for having me on and love doing the Ange-r Management on Tottenham on tour. This is where I gave birth, where you gave birth to me.
Exactly. So let's get that right. But first of all, just let people know, if you want more Spurs content, we will be redirecting to Kate, just a girl who loves Spurs. But just let you know what's coming up on Tottenham on tour. Expect a throw-in from me today, addressing the ripped up banner. What Martin Cloak said. This fan base, this ownership, all wrapped up into one tidy little chaos grenade. Because I'm sick and tired. I've gone quiet and I'm not going quietly anymore. So expect that. All week, obviously, you will have Ben and Dave doing Cockle-Doodle-Doo or Morning Brews. And expect a couple of pre-recorded during the week with myself and Amir. But on that note, I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in and spent the day with us or spent the time with us. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, Levy out.
Go on, you Spurs.